we're talking about elections taking place all over the world. And you may remember when we left off, there were elections taking place all over. New elections are continuing to happen, so let's catch up on what's been going on. Jay Raj has that report for us.
Thank you, Tiff. So to begin with, let's take a look back and recap a few elections around the world that we discussed last school year. First, France held their elections, and the runoff was between incumbent Emmanuel Macron and challenger Marine Le Pen. Macron ended up edging out Le Pen by 58 to 41% in the two-round race. In Italy, incumbent President Sergio Mattarella was re-elected, interestingly enough, as he was initially not going to put his name in the race for a second term. Then in Australia, Labour Party leader Anthony Albanese defeated contender and then Prime Minister Scott Morrison by earning 77 out of the required 76 seats to win the majority. Over in Germany, Steinmeier was re-elected as president, and in doing so became the first Social Democrat to build the position in consecutive terms. In Angola, which won its independence from Portugal in 1975, has been dominated by the MPLA, which stands for the Former Marxist People's Movement for the Liberation of Angola. As of last Thursday, the party led the election with the majority after almost all, around 85% of the votes were counted. As with most elections, the opposing party, in this case, the National Union for the Total Independence of Angola, or simply put, UNITA, contested the count, especially as it only took one day for all the votes to be counted. However, there is still a loss for the MPLA, as this was the closest race yet with the opposing party, and they will lose their 2/3 majority in parliament, meaning now they will have to work with the opposing party instead of doing what they want. Over in Kenya, corruption rules the government. To begin with, the outgoing president, Uhuru Kenyatta, was indicted by the ICC, which is the International Criminal Court for War Crimes. Then, at their latest election, William Ruto was elected, and guess what? He was also indicted for war crimes, although the ICC eventually let him go. But wait, there's more. This election is also being contested by the challenging party, and in this instance, the challenger is Taylor Odinga. And wait for it, he has also been accused of corruption. And the cherry on top, parliament officials and those in high power, they also have their own accusations. These range from many things, including murder, so no big deal. It's like Oprah was out there that day just handing out government jobs to all the criminals. And you get a job, and you get a job, and honestly, you get the point. But what are people to do when their government is based on corruption? Now over to Caitlin.
Thank you. You may remember near the end of the school year we discussed Brazil's upcoming and highly emotional and anticipated election between former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva and current President Jair Bolsonaro. Elections will be held October 2nd, and if one of the candidates does not receive 50% of the votes, a second round of voting will be held October 30th. Jair Bolsonaro is current president of Brazil, and he has been since 2019. Meanwhile, Lula was also the president of Brazil from 2003 to 2010, and is often referred to as one of Brazil's most popular politicians. In a common theme with elections, one party, this time being the current president, Bolsonaro, contends the electronic voting system as susceptible to fraud. Could this be because he's losing in early polls? We shall see. Here in the U.S. elections will be held November 8th, and up for grabs are all 435 seats in the House of Representatives and 35 out of 100 seats in the Senate. Also throughout the U.S., more than half of the states will be holding gubernatorial and many other state and local elections. Fun fact, this will be the first election affected by the redistricting that will follow the 2020 census. Other important elections coming up around the world include September, Sweden will hold their presidential election, the Czech Senate election will take place in Italy, and the next Prime Minister will be elected. possibly even a woman, who would be the first prime minister in Italy's history. In October, elections will be held. Slovenia and Austria will hold their presidential elections, along with Bulgaria and Latvia will be holding their parliamentary elections. In November, the general election will be in Nepal and held, along with Fiji's Bahrain's general elections. In December, Tunisia is having their parliamentary elections, while Kuwait will be having their general election.